Okay, we are. Last time we were talking about heroes and we looked at the basic configuration and the parts of it. I'm going to go ahead and start working on some classes now. In here you can see the default classes they give you, including an admin one that is going to include all armor permission, all weapon permission, and all skills. Plus you're going to get experience from every possible experience that you can. Max health. We're probably going to set these a lot higher. I was looking at HeroCraft. It looked like theirs were a lot higher, so we're going to experiment with much higher mana and health numbers. And but it means we're going to have to configure everything pretty much. It's going to take a long time. So, okay. First thing we want to do is we're going to leave that one alone. Just going to save it. Okay, so making a new class is pretty simple. First thing you might want to do is just take one of them, copy it, paste it again, and then rename it. So, with your RPG server, one of the things that might make your RPG server kind of special is if you decide on a theme. A theme could be anything. The most obvious theme to pick with Minecraft would be medieval, or like some kind of fantasy thing, like a Lord of the Rings kind of thing, where you could have classes like something simple, like they've got like warrior, rogue, mage, or you could get more fancy like paladin, or maybe something like a necromancer, which is pretty cool, which you have on my server. And get crazy with it. Try to make a steampunk server and have classes like that relate to that, or Old West server. If you could get a good guns plugin, which there is one, but it's not that great, and you gotta have spout working. But I've decided to try to go ahead and make just for fun. And because there's going to be some new movies coming along in like a year or two, is a Star Wars themed server. And I'm sure there's Minecraft Star Wars servers out there, but let's see if we can make a better one than them. So, with our basic classes here, let's make something like, in the Star Wars universe, you might have, I think, now I'm drawing a blank. I mean, you could do the obvious one and do like Jedi. But let's save Jedi as something that you unlock later on, and you have to do a few things first. So let's just have, I'd do something like Bounty Hunter, but again, I might want to save that and have it unlocked later. So let's do some real simple things like, Farm Boy. How about Farm Boy? Like Luke Skywalker was a farm boy. That might be a little lame, but, actually, I'm not going to do that. That'd be kind of dumb. Let's say Thief. I misspelled that, didn't I? I before E. Thief eventually leads to Bounty Hunter. Of course, I probably should change the rogue class to make that, but you can change all the numbers in here later. So, and I should just have fun with this. Let's just go ahead. Make one called Bounty Hunter. Okay. Just think, be careful about spaces. You're moving things around in here. You get unwanted spaces in your config, it's not going to work right. So do we want that to be the default? No, we don't. Let's say we had a parent class, and that would be thief. So you have to finish thief completely before you can become a bounty hunter. It is a primary class. We could put a description here, that you're that you hunt scum and villainy, something like that, You hunt down scum. Yeah, I don't even know how to spell villainy, so forget it. We'll leave that for now. Yeah, you get the idea. Down here would be the permitted armor. Now, it says you can just put leather armor chain. I guess that does work. I wasn't sure if that worked or not. So I assume you could also do diamond, and then they can wear all diamond armor. Permitted weapons, same thing here. Looks like that's all that stuff there. And then you can add other things if you want, but you need to put each item, it looks like. So if you want sword, axe, pickaxe. But the thing is, I think with these you also have to include just about everything that it considers a weapon. So you'd want to check the weapons. Basically, probably the easiest thing would be to check what weapons are in the weapons window in the creative mode. It would probably help you out, unless they're listed that way on the data values online. And that's something you'll need to use a lot doing this stuff. Is you'll need data value code numbers. You'll need to know the exact names for these things so that you got them formatted correctly. It looks like they have to be all caps. Got to have a little dash in between things here. That's an important thing here too. I messed this up. Their heroes does not like spaces, so you need to put a little underscore, or just have it right together, but underscore is probably best. And then let your players know that when they're selecting bounty hunter and they want to pick it, they'd put in bounty hunter underscore in between bounty and hunter, or it won't work. I hope I'm getting across everything on here. I hope you guys are keeping up and I'm making sense, because it's pretty late here. I'm surprised I decided to do this right now. Item damage level. I assume that means that you could put in the item like, stone, axe, and then I guess it's just like the one above it, and no, I don't know. It's probably an additional damage per level for certain items, but I don't know how to configure it. I'll have to maybe check the heroes wiki or their website to see if there's any info on that. Sorry, guys. Projectile damage. Actually, hold on one second. Sorry. I think I messed up. Let's check rogue. Okay, see, item damage is in here. Projectile damage. Okay, projectile damage, you just put an arrow, or whichever projectile. I guess the other ones are snowball and egg, maybe? No, I don't know all of them, sorry. I think there's a list of those on the hero's site. Here's really important parts, depending on which skills you want to give at which level. Put your skill name in here. Again, make sure that they're always correct. If it's not capped at the beginning, it might not work. Probably won't. It's got to be exactly the way that it is on your skill list. So if you're ever in doubt, go to your skill list and format it exactly like this. So like some of them are a little off, like harm touch. Touch is not capitalized, but guardian angel is. So be careful on stuff like that. add in the skill you want. Make sure that it is the exact amount of spaces over. It looks like it's 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the level is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 levels, 4 spaces over from that. Make sure there's a space right there. Don't miss any of these spaces, guys, okay? The thing is, like I said, if you had like a bunch of spaces right there, even if you can't see them, if when you scroll like that, space shows up, it's going to cause a problem. You have to back all the way up, put that in, hit return, make sure it's all in there correctly. Like check it, back up to see that it's not doing anything weird, and it's good. Because if you start messing up those formats and you get a whole bunch of them messed up, you'll have just a whole nightmare, and you'll have to go through and check each of them line by line. And it's very difficult to find those, so be careful about that when you're formatting it. Be real careful about copying and pasting. Okay, so in here you're going to set your individual levels and then mana amounts. So if you want Assassin's level to unlock at level 10, Assassin's Blade to unlock at level 10, and then use 15 mana each time you do it, that's how you set it up. Here you also have some setups where you can have regents, which means they have to have a bed in their inventory to use Mark, and it'll cost them a bed each time they use it. I don't have mine set to do that. I just took that part out, erased it, everything was fine. It's up to you whether you want to have that. Here's a delay, so they can't use that for, excuse me. A little confused on the delay, because cooldown means they can't use the skill again for a little bit. Delay also seems like they can't use it for a little bit. Seems a little redundant. Not sure on that. Sorry. Thing like smoke here has got duration. Means that smoke will last this long. Now this number, all these numbers here, except for like health cost, which is actually 10 health, depending on how much health you have. But things like this are in tick numbers. So this isn't really 30,000 seconds, or even, it might be milliseconds, but it's not really. It's ticks per ticks. And then the computer does, as I said in one of the previous videos, it should do about 20 ticks per second. So you can average this out to about I guess it's about 1,500 seconds, maybe? Sounds about right. If I did my math right. Hope so. Otherwise I'm going to look a little foolish. I was told there would be no math. Okay, so we're almost done looking at some of these here. You get your experience sources. Again, on the admin one, it has like all experience sources. If you want to just make it real easy on yourself, you can just give everybody everything. But if your server's not, or if you don't want, if you don't want like certain classes to make XP off things like, say, mining, like let's say you didn't want that character to make any XP when he did mining, you just take it out. Which, of course, mining is something that most people do most of the time, so if you want them to be leveling up a lot and feel good about themselves, then might as well just leave mining in. You can put an individual XP modifier for each class, so you can change that to like 1.5, change it to, say, 3.5, so it would level up much faster for this particular class. Your base health, and then max health per level, so I believe that would mean that you would start with 28, and then it would go up by this amount per level, so it would go up 0.4 points per level. But I mean, I would just make it like I like I said, I'm going to try to use larger numbers, so let's say You start with 50, and then you get 10 more each level. That would be a lot, actually, depending on how many levels you gave. But just to give you an idea. I mean, you could do that. You can, I think I showed you guys, there's a part of Heroes that allows you to set the damages that each of the monsters do. So if you made those really, really high, then low level people would be getting totally destroyed, but when they got higher level, they could kill those real good and have high health, and it all depends on how hard you want it to be. You can mess with those new players. Might be a good idea. Some people love the grind. They really do. I think I'm going to make my next server much more difficult. Mana regen, same thing as the other stuff. Just set those higher if you want to give them back more mana. When they're regenerating mana, I think that's 1 mana regen per tick, or I think it's tick. It seems they use ticks instead of seconds on most of this. Additional mana regen per level. Your XP loss, the amount of XP you'll lose each time you die. Wildcard permissions. What that means is this class available to people right away. You can look at the Heroes site to get a little more info on that. And the tiers. Tiers are interesting. All right, I didn't understand these for a while. Let me see if I can explain them as well as possible. All right. They tell you should use tier 0 for your default class. I'm not sure if it'll show up in your lists in-game if you do that. I like my default class to be something that people can pick, change to something else, and then go back to it if they want. Instead of some generic thing that they don't want to stay as. On my server, I use the primary class. I use it as a race, and the default race is human. But some people might want to stay as human. So I make sure that it shows up in all the lists by putting it in tier 1, which means that it shows up in the list called path. So when they do the command hero path, or is it paths? It might be paths. It shows a list of everything that you've got under tier 1. Okay? So anything you want them to be able to pick right away and you want them to see on the list right away, you put in tier 1. If you put it as tier 2, it's going to show up under spec. Now, spec would be things that you say, okay, I've got that primary class. I've got these 2 primary classes I finished. What advanced class can I now unlock? And that would be the stuff you'd show under specs. It does not seem to affect whether it is a primary or secondary class, which you decide up here. Okay? It just seems to affect mostly which lists it shows up in. So, hopefully that helps you out. Recipes. Here you set whether you want like the default recipe setup or another recipe setup. I will try to learn recipes a little better and then go through them, but we'll take a quick look at the sheet here. Basically, the default one here gives them all items because it's got the star. You'll learn this as you learning permissions, that a star usually means all permissions. So they have permission to all items. This one here is an example. It says at level 1 they're denied items 4. I don't know exactly what that means. But then at level 1 they unlock swords, and then they got the item number here that you can find from the data value online. Just look up Minecraft data values. As long as you're using Google, you should find it, no problem. So you could change these. So you say like, oh, you can't use axes until level 10. And then, maybe I set them for each individual class or something. And it looks like this is how you set up your armor. Although I'm not sure why that looks different than the way you set up weapons, but it is. Weapons and tools. So anyway, my voice is going. I've shown you all the basics. Hopefully I've given you some ideas about like making kind of a fancy theme for your server and making some classes. I will show you a little bit, I think, another like look at heroes real quick later on. There's definitely more things to go over. Yeah, we should go over permission skills and a few other things. So there'll definitely be another part at some point. I just might do some other videos before then. So stay tuned, and I hope this helped out. And enjoy making this stuff. I know it's a little tedious at times. Be careful with your formatting, and don't give up, because if you work real hard at it, you'll have a great server that people will love to play on. So talk to you later. Take it easy.